Welcome once again to the Solid Signal podcast. Now, I did say that I went, a couple of weeks, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, where I was staying largely on topic. And then I went a little off topic, and I'm going to stay a little bit off topic this week and next week. This is actually going to be kind of the first two-part podcast that I'm doing ever in the whole 10 years I've been doing this. And that's because I really want to throw some focus on this. Not really because it helps sales at solidsignal.com, which I really do care about, and I should care about it. Of course, they keep the lights on, but because it's an interesting topic to me, and it's been an interesting topic for a long time. I'm talking about the Academy Awards, aka the Oscars. Now, there's a bit of controversy going on this year, but before I get to that, I want to kind of paint the picture for you. Awards shows have really suffered a lot in the last 2 years for a couple of reasons, the pandemic being one of them. But I mean, I don't think that it suffered disproportionately because of the pandemic any more than any other thing. But I will say that there had gotten to the point where there were just so many darn award shows. It seemed like there was one like every week. And, you got the writers giving them out, and the directors, and the People's Choice, and the Critics' Choice, and the British ones, and the American ones. And it's, for the average person, it's burnout. Add to that sort of the controversy that was around the Golden Globes and the representation aspects of that. This really isn't a political podcast, so I'm not going to dig too much into that other than it happened. But what you got is, at this point, there are two kind of grandparent type award shows, at least when it comes to televising them. There's the Oscars and the Emmys, and both of them have suffered in recent years because there's just so much competition. By the time they roll around, people don't care anymore. They're just over it. They're done. And so the Television Academy and the Motion Picture Academy have both taken steps to try to improve ratings, if nothing else, because there's two parts to this. The awards shows themselves are the show, and then there's the awards. And giving the awards is one thing, and they make a point of mentioning every year that when the Academy Awards first started, it was a closed event. I mean, it was just industry people and nobody else, and then they didn't really start even putting them on the radio for a while, and then they put them on television eventually. But that's what I'm getting at here now, is the difference between the awards themselves and the awards shows. Because the Oscar ratings have been going down year after year after year, the people who put on the show have made some changes. The Oscars, notorious, of course, for going long, for being full of things that people aren't really kind of tuned into. And so they're cutting back on that. They want to make sure that there's enough time for the things people want to see, the award categories people want to see. And what they're doing is they're doing it in a bit of a controversial way. They've taken some of the awards that used to be televised, like Best Original Score and a couple of other the technical ones, and they are awarding those before the telecast begins, and they will only feature the winners as part of the show. They're not going to show their speeches and stuff like that. Okay. So a lot of people are saying that's not fair. That's not fair to the people who put their lives into this sort of thing, and it's not right. Okay, I'm not disagreeing with you, only to say that there have always been categories that didn't make the broadcast. And are you saying, okay, the guy who invented the new gearing system for the camera was never important? No, of course that person was always important. It's just that it didn't have enough mass appeal to make the broadcast. That's where you have to separate it. This is an entertainment show. This is a show that they want to get ratings for so that they can sell commercials. And so you have to look at what people want to see. And they want to see the stars that they know. They want to see the categories they're aware of. They want to see the movies that they are familiar with win awards. And they don't want to see movies that they have no connection to, or people in the industry who, while they work extraordinarily hard, that the average person has no connection to. This is a challenge. I see it two ways because I'm a technical behind the scenes person in a lot of ways, and I'd love to be recognized and see that other people who are behind the scenes people are recognized. There's still drama there. There's still people who sacrifice and take time away from their families for this sort of thing. Totally get all of that, but that has nothing to do with the entertainment value of the Oscars broadcast itself. In the end, I'm totally fine with the idea that they're moving some of these awards kind of off broadcast, but here's what I wish they would do, and I don't understand why they're not. I would like to see all of the awards that are presented outside of the regular broadcast simply made available for streaming. I mean, why not? I mean, why not just put it all on Hulu? You can watch it if you want. Don't watch it if you don't want. Have it happen live. And people who are interested in this sort of thing can watch it. And, it's going to get the audience that it's going to get. It's going to get the people who are interested in that sort of thing. People's families and people who are interested in the technology can absolutely jump into this sort of thing. And why wouldn't they? This is a perfect solution, and I'm not quite sure why it's not being done, at least that I know of. Really should be. And then you can say that the Oscars telecast itself on network TV is right there for, the people who want the entertainment value. I want to be entertained by the Oscars telecast. I also want to know what the technical awards are, what the creative arts awards are, all that stuff. I want both. But I also recognize that not everybody does, that not everybody wants both. Some people just want to see the pretty people and what they're wearing, and that's totally okay. I'd also like to see a few of those award shows just not air at all, but that's all right. People have the right to not watch them, and I've stopped watching quite a few of them myself because of award show overload, and especially in the last 2 years where, they haven't been quite the spectacle that they once were. Totally get it. But let's not pretend this is anything but the entertainment industry. I mean, that's what movies are about. Movies start with entertainment. They are interesting and important and make political points and change the way people think. They frame our society in a lot of ways that make them critically important to our culture, but it all starts with entertainment. And so it makes sense to me that the Oscars telecast be the most entertaining thing that it could be, not to diminish in any way the hard work of the many people whose award categories are not televised. It's just not about that. You can win an award, and that award is every bit as important, especially if the people you love and the people who want to see it have a way to see it on streaming. I hope that that's what we see next year. I don't think we're seeing it this year, but that's my pitch for, let's say, part one of this podcast. Next week, I'm going to be back with a whole new podcast talking about what I saw at the Oscars and whether or not it was really relevant to our culture. Because again, we are talking about a popular culture phenomenon, and sometimes the Oscars get it right, sometimes they get it wrong, and sometimes they get it very, very, very wrong. I'll be back to report with my opinions on those things on next week's podcast. In the meantime, like and subscribe. It makes me look good to my bosses. Comment anywhere that you get this podcast. I love to read what you have to say, and I will be back with even more crankiness and excitement next week. Until then, have a good one.